I am going to bring Bill. Can you come up and tell us about Saturday?
Saturday is an event called Career Camp here on College of the Canyons. And this is near and dear to my heart because this is where I met Kathleen and where I met Toastmasters and joined Toastmasters. But what it is, it's an opportunity to speak and share with job seekers or people who want to raise their job game, come to a career camp and have all kinds of little seminars or breakouts to go to. And that's where we come in. We have that event, you actually go to the event and you sign up that particular day to teach an event. And I thought in this case we would teach how to answer the tough interview questions, or what we call table topics.
Welcome, everybody, to the Speak Well, Dress Well breakout. I am Linnea Millette, and I am here representing Toastmasters International. Do you know what Toastmasters International is? It's a worldwide nonprofit organization where people learn to speak and lead. We are here not to just talk about Toastmasters. We are here to share our expertise, but our ability to present the topics that we are talking about today come from our Toastmasters training. In addition, you will have an opportunity to participate with us in one of the aspects of a Toastmasters meeting on impromptu speaking. Having said all of that, please grab a book before you leave today. Leave us your name and number so we can send you information about the Toastmaster clubs in the area in case you're interested, or getting in touch with any of the presenters. Our first presenter, Karen Hudson. She's a speaker, author, and coach. She worked for 25 years as a costumer in Hollywood film and TV industry, where she created many characters and worked with actors of note. She writes, speaks about costuming, interviewing, and dressing to be filmed in high definition and green screen. As a matter of fact, she's recently published a book on that topic, and it's fascinating. I can't recommend it enough. Karen coaches people on how to dress, and that's exactly what she's going to do here now. Please help me welcome Karen Hudson.
Robert, you want to move over here, because I'm going to stand over here, and I'd like to. And you, if you can move in, I'm Karen Hudson. Hi.
Yes, I've heard you've actually spoken at our EU group.
Could be.
All right.
Karen, we're giving you 30 minutes.
Okay, great. So it's 20 past. Okay, great. Did you know, every morning when you go to the closet and choose what you're going to wear, you've created a character for that day, and that's what who people are going to see all that day, and they're going to judge you on that because that is basically your first impression. And I talked to you about characters because, as you heard, I developed characters on film and television. My name is on every episode of Hill Street Blues. That was the thing I did in 1980, and then I did a lot of other things until I retired in 2001. But I think it's really, really important that you create the character that you want to be seen as, and that's particularly important when you do interviews. Are most of you here to talk a bit about interviewing? Is
Yes. Yeah, interviewing, how to look,
Okay.
as you say, look the part.
Then I'm going to talk in that direction, talk about interviewing. When you interview, you've turned in your resume, they've seen you online, and there's something about you that they thought would fit into the job, fit into the company, and they wanted you to come in for an interview. But still, the first impression is when you walk through that door, and that who they see is who they think you are. So it's really important. I don't know, have you ever walked down the street and you saw someone coming your way and you said, oh, wow, I don't want to encounter that person. You jump into the shop over here and you kind of look through things until you see that person go by, and then you go back out on the street and continue walking. Well, you don't want that to happen when you go in for an interview. You want to fit in. And how do you fit in? When you call in to make the appointment to have your interview, ask how the people dress. If there is a dress code in the office, in the company, if they have, how most of the people dress. When you're on a film set, for instance, OSHA demands that you wear closed-toed, low-heeled, sturdy shoes, because on the set there's a lot of cable. Sometimes you're out in who knows where. I've been on my trailer, came out like this, and then we ran down into a ditch and then onto the road over there. So you have to have good shoes, and OSHA demands that you do that. So you really want to pay attention to what's needed at that. Now, most of the time you're going to dress like the company. You know, a lot of people, especially really young people, don't understand that when you work for a company, you work for them. They are not for you. So what you need to do is conform to their needs. And if you really can't stand it, I was talking to Mensa about this very thing, and they liked my speech, and I thought they wanted to know about how characters were created, the psychology behind the character. I pointed out several characters on TV that they would understand, would know, and then I broke it down, their character analysis. And afterwards, they kept me in the hallway for an hour and a half asking me, well, how am I dressed? And there was a tall girl. She was probably 5'8", beautiful, beautiful girl, incredibly fashionably dressed. I mean, everything was just absolutely perfect. Her makeup, her hair, and everything. Now, this is a Mensa person. And usually what you think from Mensa is that these people are in their heads and not really into their look. And that's most of what I saw. But she said, I work down here at, I'm an engineer. And I went, I'm an engineer and I work over here at the aerospace place. And they make fun of me all the time. They just ridicule me. I don't have any friends at work. And I said, you know what? The point is they're jealous of you and you intimidate them by the way you dress. So you have to change the way you dress. And she said, but this is me. This is who I am. And I said, well, then maybe you have to change your job. Maybe you have to get another job. I said, you have to dress like them to be a part of them. And do that for 8 hours a day, come home and change into your image, change into your own image. A lot of people do have keynote looks. They have a certain look that maybe it's a hat, maybe it's their jewelry. I have a friend who makes jewelry, so of course she wears her jewelry, and it's kind of overwhelming, but when you understand that that's her business, you understand why she's dressed that way. So maybe that works sometimes, but usually not. Now, I was down in Temecula having breakfast at the Denny's, and I just ran in because I was on my way to San Diego and sat at the counter. And a guy came in and sat down next to me, and I thought, well, it's nice to talk with somebody. And so I said, so do you work on some of these construction jobs around here? Because there was a lot of construction going on in the area. And he said, yes, I do. And I said, You're the boss, right? He said, yeah, how'd you know that? And I said, your shoes are clean.
Busted.
I said, yeah, I said, you don't go out and slop around in the mud and dirt and everything because you're the boss. You're out there telling them where to go. And those little tiny details are the things that people see. And it's little tiny details like that that you want to pay attention to when you dress as well. Like you want your nails to be clean, you want them, like you have a great manicure. Since I got retired, I don't have to go have a manicure anymore. I can just do my own. And you want to pay close attention. I'll give you a couple of tips here. One of these things, a lint roller, is a really good thing to have at home, especially if you have a cat and a dog. You know, you want to roll everything off right before you go. Now my book, How Dressed to Speak, which is high definition green screen, talks about how the pixelation, the high pixelation on high definition sees absolutely everything. It sees, you know, the cat hair on your shoulder and everything. So what you want to be sure to do is to do this right before you go someplace, you know, before you arrive. And a friend of mine actually is so aware of her cat hair. She has 2 cats, and she said it's everywhere. So all my clothes are actually in the garage, and the cats can never go in the garage.
Oh, wow.
She dresses in the garage.
That's different.
Now that's kind of extreme, but it is. Okay, one of the other things that I like is this little shoe shine sponge, and you get this at the drugstore or the grocery store. This is a really, really great thing. And right at the last minute, just go over your shoes a little bit, and you look like you've just shined your shoes. And I do keep it in here because I think it keeps it from drying out. I think it'll work for you a lot longer if you do this. Okay, those are a couple of things for you to have to keep yourself in order. Do any of you have questions at this time?
Yeah, the kind of job that I'm looking for, people pretty much tend to dress like a bunch of slobs anyway. Even the upper management dresses, you know, the last place I worked, the operators, who are the kind of people I'm trying to be, their pants are sagging half down the rear end, their jeans are torn up. I mean, you're used to going into an interview looking, you know, like button-down shirt, you know, nice slacks and everything.
Yeah.
But if your boss comes in, your potential boss comes in, and they're wearing practically something like a rock concert T-shirt, and I'm told you're supposed to dress halfway, how do you? I mean, that's really difficult to figure out how.
Okay.
You know.
What I didn't do is complete my story about the guy, the boss on the construction job. The deal is, when you go into that kind of a job interview, what you want to do is just clean it up a little bit. Have all your stuff clean, you know, clean your shoes up, have a shirt, you know, that's pressed, have your pants pressed. Just wear the clothes, but have them kind of neat and clean. And so you're like them and ready to go out on the job, but, you know, you do look nice.
Oh, okay.
You know. And you won't intimidate them or anything, you just look like you can.
So I could probably get away with something like this.
Something like this. I would button up the bottom button there, just so it's, And you know, when you wash your shirts like that, you want to always button up all the buttons and turn it inside out. And it'll come out a whole lot better. Yeah, it'll come out of the washer and dryer a whole lot better. And if you have pockets with buttons, be sure and button all the pockets and everything, and it'll come out a lot better. And shake them real nice and hard before you put them in the dryer, you know, from both sides. Shake them and put them in the dryer so everything's straightened out.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So that's that. I think that really works. I mean, you don't intimidate anyone if you dress like them, but you're all nice and clean.
Yeah, I think it's a lot harder when they dress really casually than when they dress well, like all the guys in here.
Yeah, it is. But it's the way it is sometimes.
Yeah.
And you know, lots of times, like most of these Mensa guys, they had no idea what on earth they put together. You know, they just went to the closet and put something on the top and something on the bottom and walked out the door. You know, I mean, that's the extent of their thought.
Does everybody know what Mensa is?
Yeah, super brainiacs.
Yeah, super brainiacs. Yeah.
Did they
exactly.
have matching pocket protectors?
Yeah, the plastic protectors, so that your
Right,
pants don't make
right.
marks.
MINS is an acronym, isn't it?
Probably.
It is?
I wouldn't be
didn't know that.
surprised.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Do you know what it's an acronym for?
I couldn't think of it.
I don't either. I have to think about
I
that.
have to Google it.
Yeah, okay.
I would tend to think that a lot of Mensa people would come from places like Caltech or someplace like that,
Yeah.
because it's like the super brainiacs of the world.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's absolutely true. But if you are going into a job that you want to, that is a normal job where you want to dress, you have to take into consideration, first of all, call and find out what the people wear. And then you want to take into consideration things like the psychology of color. The psychology of color is that red, for instance, is a happy color, but it can also go into aggression and anger. So you want to be careful about the tone of your red, that it's not too bright. And I have sometimes when I do I won't be talking all about wardrobe, but when I do all wardrobe, I have changes of jackets that let you know what the differences are. For instance, grade school teachers usually wear happy colors like turquoise and blue and yellow, as long as yellow isn't aggressive out there. And those are happy colors that the kids like, and they're happy to come to you and talk to you. They feel comfortable coming to you. So the psychology of color is really the emotion of color. And so consider that, consider the emotion. When you go to a funeral, it used to be, they tell you to wear black. Black is a down color. Brown is a down color. This one makes you approachable, makes you one of the crowd, and that sort of thing. And the reason I dressed in this was because I wanted to talk to you like my friends, like we're sitting around a table talking. So I wore this brown. Sometimes I wear other colors. But anyway, I do have contrast, and that's one of the things that I wanted to do. I wanted to have contrast, and what the contrast does, one, the black all the way up and down makes me look thinner. And the second thing is that I have focus now drawn to my face. And in terms of focus, my earrings have a little bit of light around my face, toward my face. It's not too big. If you have great big huge jangly earrings, it becomes a conversation about the earrings. And you may have seen that on television or in a film or something, and all you watch is the earrings going around. And that isn't really a good idea. It really distracts.
I have a question. What
Yes.
men that may wear an earring or two going into an interview, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it depends on where you're going. I don't know if you go into a macho man thing.
Yeah, well, personally, to me, I don't like it.
Like construction or something, the people may think down on that. That may not be a good thing to go in with that. And, you have to kind of gauge that according to. And then some companies, like your guys who dress down, maybe don't even care. They're going to
No,
notice.
when I went in to hand in a resume about a year ago, and one of the managers says, "Audio guys do not wear ties," and so I'm taking off the ties like I'm just trying to look good, and I was specifically told, "You don't wear ties, period." It's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
But that's post-production. They don't care what you dress as long as you can produce the results.
Right.
But that's an exception, I think, to most jobs, though.
Mhm.
You have to.
And there's a psychology in each office. That there's going to be a little difference of opinion in psychology. I was thinking also when I was coming here about tattoos. I think if you have tattoos, probably for your interview, it's a good idea, if you can, to cover them up. Wear long sleeves and that sort of thing, because you don't know quite, when you go in, what's going to be the right thing. Okay, now, one of the things for guys who wear ties is there are several things about how long the tie is. For a military or police tie, it's going to be above the belt buckle. The point of it is going to be above the belt buckle. For a person, just a regular, common, ordinary person, the point of it should be at the bottom of the belt buckle. It kind of covers up the belt buckle. And sometimes, like my partner Dick, and most of you know my partner Dick, he has a big tummy, and so if he gets it clear down to the top of the belt buckle, it looks really ridiculous. So there's a little give in there, but that's basically what the rule is. And then one of the things in interviews, you want to be careful that you aren't assaulting the interviewer's eyes. You know, you don't want to wear ties like this. I mean, if you stare at either one of these two ties, your eyes are going to start doing this, you know.
Well, the cameras
This
used
is
to react
really
that way
hard
too.
on your eyes, and
Yeah,
yes,
I can be
indeed.
ahead of camera.
That's
Yeah.
the day.
And this is actually, this is my bunch of ties here to say don't wear these for high definition, because over here, the shiny part of it causes, see how that shines, how that moves? So you're going to have, as you move around, you're going to have movement in your tie. It's going to look like your tie is dancing on the front of you because of the shininess. This one is a little bit shiny, but the pattern is wrong. And these are wrong for any reason. Every reason. Now these are kind of goofy. These are kind of old-fashioned ties. But these, you know, you would have to consider whether you want to wear these or not. If you're, this little tie here, you wouldn't want to wear to an interview at Universal.
Yeah, it's all Warner Brothers.
Is that WB?
Warner Brothers cartoons. So don't wear that at an interview at Universal. You want to be a little careful. Okay, let me ask you about this. Okay, what do you think about this?
Oh my gosh, that tie sticks out a mile
Yeah.
away.
Kind of screams, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The shirt might not be too bad, and the shirt might be just fine if you're going in for an interview that's casual with no tie, you know, just leave it open. It's a little bit more interesting maybe than a white shirt open, okay?
That's quite a tie.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
That's
see.
like turn down the volume on that thing.
Rush Limbaugh.
Well, that explains everything right
Okay,
there.
okay, how about this?
That's not too bad.
Not too darn bad, not too darn bad, except high definition. This would vibrate. All these little tiny lines would vibrate. But for home, I mean for regular interview, I like this. You know, it's interesting, and I like the tie and the shirt together. Okay, what about this?
Little
Maybe
too much
different.
contrast.
Yeah, there's too much of a.
Okay, and it points out, the contrast is a problem. It points out another thing. If you have dark skin, you want to tone down the whites a little bit. You don't want it to be too high a contrast with your face, you know, because that's disturbing too. Okay, and I don't know, you get away with wearing black even if you have light skin like I have. This I kind of like.
Yeah.
Even with the
Yeah, it might not be good for high definition.
Now, for a lot of those, the tie seems to contrast pretty sharply with the shirt. Would you want to choose something that's not quite as sharp of a contrast? Would be much better.
You could, but what I'm thinking is that you're probably going to have a dark suit on there. So
Oh.
by the time you put the dark suit on either side, the contrast is not going to be so
Oh.
great. Thank you for that question. That's a very good question. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the interview itself. Now, like I said, when you go into that room, when you open the door and you step in, that is your real first impression. And so what you want to do is look organized in the very beginning. And lots of women carry those big bags that look like they're moving in. And that is not a good idea. You have to keep in mind that this office is the property of the person who's interviewing you. This is their home, and you cannot move into their home unless they invite you, and they didn't invite you at this interview. So anyway, it's best to have a reasonably sized purse and a notebook, because it's, you know, I like having a notebook because it is fair for you to take notes too. This interview is not just about you selling yourself, it's about that company selling themselves to you, so you take notes too. And you want to have several interviews. I've gone into interviews when they had all the writers interviewing me, and this one particular one, there were about 8 writers, and the producer interviewing me, and I felt like a little bird with all these cats here flying like this. You know, I mean, it was, and I had taken a lot of resumes, but I didn't know I was going to be interviewed by that number of people. For women, I want to say, please, no cleavage and no short skirts. One of the things is that you never know exactly where you're going to sit, what kind of a chair you're going to sit in. You might sit in a chair that's a little bit high and your knees are kind of at everybody's eye level. That's not a good idea to have a short skirt on. So it's really not a good idea to wear a short skirt and no cleavage. I mean, that's not what you're selling, okay? And for you guys, then, you need to be organized and I would have a notebook, because you probably have all your stuff in your pockets, but have a notebook and always have a bunch of extra resumes so that you can hand them out. Now, they probably already have them, but you never know for sure. I have a friend in editing who took the resumes and interviewed all these people, and she went out to her secretary and said, call so-and-so and tell him to come in at 8 o'clock on Monday morning. The guy shows up and she goes, that's not the guy I was thinking about. Anyway, what had happened is she had unorganized the resumes and she invited the wrong person to come in. And so I think, according to, as a costumer, you have to pay the person for the whole week. You fire them, but you have to pay them for the whole week. So the company's not going to be real happy with you. But at any rate, you need to hand your resume to the person so you're absolutely certain that they know who they're interviewing. And you know that they can look at what you handed them and your name and your face and associate it. So it's a really good idea. Yeah.
Now, when they call you in for the interview, is it appropriate to ask, can you tell me how many people are going to be in the interview room? And so that way you can be prepared with, say, like if there's going to be 4 other people and you have one for yourself to bring in that many resumes?
You could ask, you could say, who's going to interview me? Is it just one person, or is it a committee of people, or what? You could ask that. But, you know, I would think that you're out on several resumes at this point. I mean, on several job interviews, so having a bunch of resumes, I think 6 probably would be a good idea.
Oh.
Okay. But anyway, what I'm also backing up and suggesting is that you arrive early so that you have a few minutes to park, be calm, find out where you're going, and go, for the ladies especially, go to the ladies' room and do last looks. Last looks is a film industry term, and it means if the hair is blown around by the wind or something, you want to straighten it up, you want to check your lipstick and be sure it's good, and then go in. Remember to always be kind and generous and nice to everyone there, because you never know if the boss is going to walk out of his office and say, well, I interviewed a bunch of people today and I liked a lot of them. Who did you like? You never know when they're going to talk to somebody about the people who came in. And so if you talk to them and are pleasant with them, you know, they're going to give a good report if they're asked. So that's a really important thing too. And one of the things that you have to understand is that the desk is their property, and don't put your notebook or your purse or anything on their desk. Put it down at the side and your notes on your lap and make notes. Let's see, do you have questions at this point?
I've always heard if they offer you a cup of coffee, to decline it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you shouldn't go in there with a beverage. You could spill it or...
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't ask, I wouldn't get it from the person. If while you're waiting, you could maybe sip the coffee, but before you go into the interview, no, you don't want it, because that's kind of casual and like you're moving in too, yeah.
Some of us work in different job capacities, and some job capacities have very extreme polar opposites in what kind of person can fulfill that capacity. And
Yes.
some of us can do both.
Yes,
You can be low key, or you could be high key, or you could be in the middle.
right.
And I find that the dress sometimes may go along with it,
Mhm.
as this gentleman mentioned about the different fields.
Right.
And I wouldn't walk into a motion picture interview wearing this.
Mhm.
What would you wear?
Probably black, probably maybe even a t-shirt. But in
Oh,
any
really?
case, should your costume represent your strength if you need that in your job position,
You know,
like a
if-
first AD, or if you're something, not playing that role? something more
There
low-key?
again, it is really what, to find out what the people are wearing. And when I was working with a star, I would check out their video and look at their video and see, a wide range of their acting. Even if I didn't watch the whole show, I wanted to see what they look like physically and their acting capabilities. I worked with Rodney Dangerfield once, and you usually think of him as a crass comedian and that sort of thing, but
No respect.
no, if you look at where he's a golf caddy, it's called
Oh,
Caddyshack. My word, that guy has the deepest emotional acting capability. I couldn't believe it.
Really?
And he was the nicest, most gentlemanly man I've worked with.
Wow.
It was so amazing. It was so amazing. But I already had kind of that inclination. I knew when I sat down with him, I was not defensive because I kind of knew who he was already. And he came around and talked to everyone, called everyone by name. Lily Tomlin is the same way. She really pays attention to who people are. I did whatever it was she was on, and I just did it once in a while, so I didn't see her every week even. And about a year later, I was at Western Costume pulling costumes, and I heard my name. I was up on a ladder, and I turned around, and it was Lily down here, and she recognized me, at Western Costume, I mean, it was really amazing. Some of these people are completely amazing and totally different from who you think they are.
It's kind of nice to hear, because some of you hear they're complete jerks, and you never want to work with them again. And you run into
There
some
are a
people
couple
who
of
cool.
people that I always ask who's on the show,
Oh.
and there are a couple of people I wouldn't accept the show with. But I don't get offended. I've always had really good luck with that sort of thing. It's in my attitude, I think, because I don't go defensively. Yeah.
I looked up Mensa, and to my surprise, it's a Latin word for table. It has to do with the round table.
Oh,
Really?
It's a Latin
Wow.
for table.
yeah, that's cool.
That's
At any rate,
Mensa.
go early and be peaceful and sit in the office just, for 5 or 10 minutes, and you'll see how the energy of the office is, whether it's like this, like telephone, all right, hurry up, or if it's slow and calm. The interviewer is probably going to sit back and tell jokes, and you want to mirror them. That's an NLP term. You want to mirror the person who's interviewing you. If they're on the ball like this, you want to have your answers short and fast. And if they want to tell stories, then you want to kind of kick back and be a little bit quieter and calmer. Mirror them. Okay.
Let's give Clarita a round. All right, we are running out of time, and we did want to give you an opportunity to experience the impromptu speaking. So please help me welcome to the election. This is the president of the Toastmaster Club I'm representing, Daybreak Toastmasters. She is a distinguished Toastmaster, the highest designation you can reach, and she's going to lead us in some interactive activities. Help me welcome Mrs. Jenny.
Thank you.
Does everybody have one of these?
Yeah. I think so.
Could you get a
Should have all
referring
got-
to that?
This is going to be fun. My favorite part of every Toastmasters meeting is called table topics. And what normally happens is a table topics master comes to the front of the room and has a set of questions and then asks the audience, the members of Toastmasters and guests, to answer those questions in 1 to 2 minutes. Impromptu. Just like in an interview. You don't know what you're going to be asked in an interview. Are you going to be asked, why do you want this job? Are you going to be asked, tell me a little bit about yourself? Some questions are more uncomfortable for interviewers than others, for the interviewee than others. When I did a panel here at COC, I was surprised at what people said the most uncomfortable interview question was. I don't know what they are for you, but we're going to reverse that role today. I've been in Toastmasters for 2 years, and I've been doing table topics for 2 years. And table topics in Toastmasters teaches you to come up with those statements with poise, clarity, grace, and to turn the tables around so that the people you're speaking to go, oh wow, I remember what you said. And that's the most important thing. You want to go into that interview and get that person who you've interviewed with, you want them to remember, I remember you at the first level interview. That's what you want to come away with. This may be a little bit hard for some of you, but I'm going to start with some people in the room that are a little bit more proficient at doing this. Karen, would you pick a question, if you were interviewing me for a job, would you pick a question that you ask for me? The only criteria I ask is that you tell me what the job is so that I'm prepared, because everybody in the room is applying for different kinds of employment. So tell me, you're applying for this job, and then ask me the question you want me to answer.
Okay. You're applying for a job in which you will be in the HR department, but specifically interviewing your type people, you know, the people who do your job in social media and that sort of thing.
Okay.
Okay. Circe, why did you choose this company? Why were you interested in this company working for us?
Thank you for asking me here for the interview. And I would like to tell you that before I came and applied for this job, I researched your company online. You have a lot of information out there, and I discovered that you are people-oriented, which is something that I'm interested in, and that your company seems to be more interested in the quality of the employees as opposed to the skill set, and that your company looks to people that they can train into their likeness, as opposed to bringing people in who already know who they are. You want people in your company that are like malleable, want to be like you. That's the kind of job I'm interested in. Thank you. Somebody else want to ask? What's your worst interview question?
You can ask from this list, by the way, is some of the most common questions asked in an interview. So you can pick one here.
Yes.
I have trouble with what didn't you like about your last job, or
Good.
what I was asked at my last interview was, what would you change about your job? And for that one, obviously I had a million things I wanted to say, but I believe my English teacher told me you shouldn't completely bag on your job.
I'd love to tell you everything that I experienced at my last job, but it would take a long time. And what I really want to tell you is that I was laid off because the company was downsizing. I would have stayed there. I love staying with one company for a long time. I choose companies carefully that I interview with, and I liked so much about working for another person that I wished I could have stayed. In my experience, there are always good and bad about every job. I focus on the good. I focus on the things I can do, and within my capacity, the things that I can do well, so that I can make my job, in my experience, better. This way, every time I get up on Monday morning and the clock says get ready for work, I'm happy to go. That's the kind of employment I'm looking for, and that's why I sought you out as a company.
Wow, pretty good, huh? You're hired,
You
woman.
do need to be prepared. If you did not like your company before, if you did not like being there, never give that tell. Always smile and remember something good. Remember something you enjoyed. In here, you don't have to say it in specifics. In fact, generalities are so much better. But when you think of something good, your face, your countenance, and everything will smile. And you'll be happy to answer the question.
We're at 10:30.
Okay, one more question, then we'll call it quits. Yes, Bill?
It's a pretty common one, and for people who have been looking for a while, and they might ask, why is there, looking at your resume, why is there a year gap or whatever gap in your work history? What happened for those 10 months or whatever?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. Some of us have those gaps.
I have a gap in my work history for a really good reason, but it was more personal. I am now seeking qualified employment for myself. I have, during my gap, been educating myself, going to school, improving my viability as an employment and as an employee for you. When I was working before, I didn't have time to educate myself. I didn't have time to produce me better. And now I feel I'm ready to go look for a job and to find something that really suits my employer and myself, both through my education and my personal growth.
Wow. I don't think there's anything we could throw at you and you'd be able to answer.
When my father would sit us around the dinner table, I was very little, there were 3 of us. His fun was doing what I now know as table topics. But he would throw out a question to the 3 of us. Now when I remember this, I was about 5. And my brother was a year and a half older, and my sister was 2.5 years younger. Now my sister was too young to really answer these questions my dad would come up with, because he loved to read the encyclopedia, the newspaper. You never knew what would come up. But because I loved my father dearly, I wanted to be the one answering the question. Now, even though my brother was a year and a half older and should have maybe taken that role, he was a little intimidated by my dad. So I often got to answer the questions. It was like, what's the 3rd planet from the sun? Do you know? Or, how many presidents have we had in the United States so far?
Wow.
How would a 5-year-old know that? But a 5-year-old responding to that might say, I don't know, but the last president is Dwight D. Eisenhower, or something like that. Because it's not the answer with facts. It's the answer with poise. It's the answer with confidence. When you are in an interview and you are being asked questions, if you truly know who you are and what you like and what you want and what you're going after, and you remember that inside, you're going to be ready to answer anything. Remember, you don't have to answer with any details. Always answer with something that pleases you, and it'll come off as pleasing. I'll tell you a quick little story. The job that I got that I was with for 5.5 years, I didn't want. But I interviewed for it because I needed a job. I had not worked in at least 5 years. But I got a divorce. Actually, it was 10. I got a divorce. Now I was seeking employment. I'm a little older. They're looking for some cutesy for this job. I was interviewing against a whole bunch of people. I didn't want this job, but it was a job that I knew I could do. Without skills, I knew I could do it. I went into the first interview, answered all the questions, left the interview. I got called for a 2nd level interview. Shocked. I'm going, what's he calling me back for? And I got called in on the same day as a young black man who was interviewing as a chauffeur for this guy. So I walk into the office. I didn't care if he hired me at all. I knew who I was. I knew what my capabilities were. And the first thing out of his mouth was, oh, you're not who I thought you were. But he had my resume in front of me. You know what I said to him? I wonder if you could take Polaroids of your interviews so that you knew and you could put them with the resumes. And then we started talking. That was it. I knew who I was. I wasn't being sarcastic. I wasn't criticizing. I was offering him a solution. Obviously, by offering something as a solution to a problem he had, he saw something in me, and I was hired.
Wow.
You gotta know who you are. That's the key. Yes.
Could I add just one more thing that I think is really important? Right now, they're doing virtual interviews on the phone.
Oh, yes, phone interviews.
Skype, whatever. But on the phone, you think, oh, this is easy, nobody's seeing me, anything like that. But the fact is that you will get yourself up and going. When you're doing a phone interview, get up, get dressed, comb your hair, put your makeup on, just the same, and do the interview as if you were there. Also, on the phone, get up And stand when you're interviewing. Now, don't pace like you're nervous, but stand up, and because you have so much more energy when you're standing up, and those are the things that will fall down when you're at home. Your energy will fall. And smile. Smile when you're talking on the phone, because I don't know, somehow that smile can be heard.
Now, do they usually, because I've never had a phone interview before, do they usually tell you, we'll call you at this particular day and time to interview you over the phone, or is it usually an impromptu kind of thing?
They usually call,
They
make an
usually do?
appointment.
Oh, okay.
Hi, you guys can come in.
Wow.
All right, lots of good information.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Very
very
good.